They commanded armies, changed laws, and carried the weight of a nation. Yet when death came, it arrived in the strangest ways imaginable. From spoiled cherries to unwashed hands, these are the 20 weirdest deaths in American presidential history. And believe me, the more you hear, the stranger it gets. 1. George Washington, bled to death by doctors. The first president of the United States was a symbol of strength. But in the winter of 1799, that strength couldn't save him from medical ignorance. After riding through freezing rain, he woke with a sore throat. His doctors believed sickness came from bad blood, so they drained him again and again, until nearly half his body's blood was gone. His loyal aide begged them to stop. But Washington, disciplined and obedient to order, whispered, "Let it be done." Hours later, he could no longer breathe. The man who survived wars and storms was defeated by his own doctors. Power couldn't protect him from bad medicine. He built a nation, but couldn't survive a sore throat. 2. John Adams died the same day as Jefferson. 50 years after America's birth, Adams lay dying in his Massachusetts home. Outside, fireworks celebrated the 4th of July, 1826. His final words were calm. Thomas Jefferson survives. He didn't know Jefferson had already died just hours earlier. 2 founding fathers gone on the same day, exactly 50 years after they signed the Declaration of Independence. Some call it coincidence. Others call it divine poetry. Destiny made sure both men left together just as they entered history, side by side. 3. Thomas Jefferson, the same day, mystery. Jefferson, too, seemed to feel something coming. As his strength faded, he asked his servant, "Is it the 4th?" When told yes, he smiled faintly and took his last breath. 2 great men who fought, ruled, and forgave each other. Gone on the same date their dream was born. It's as if the nation they created called them home. Fate doesn't need logic. It just needs timing. 4. Zachary Taylor, killed by cherries and milk. A hot July afternoon, 1850. President Zachary Taylor cooled himself with a bowl of cherries and a glass of iced milk. Hours later, his stomach twisted in pain. 5 days after that, he was gone. Some said cholera. Others whispered poison. Decades later, scientists even exhumed his body to check for arsenic, but found none. A nation's leader brought down not by war or enemies, but by a snack. Sometimes the smallest indulgence becomes your biggest mistake. 5. William Henry Harrison, death by speech. He wanted to prove his toughness. During his inauguration, he spoke for nearly 2 hours in icy rain, without a coat or hat. Days later, he caught pneumonia. 31 days after taking office, he died, the shortest presidency in U.S. history. One long speech, one short life in power. A man trying to show strength, undone by pride and weather. 6. James A. Garfield, killed by dirty hands. A bullet hit him, but it didn't kill him. What killed him were his doctors. For weeks, they poked his wound with unwashed fingers and rusty tools, searching for the bullet. Infection spread through his body. He whispered prayers, stayed calm, and forgave everyone. 80 days later, he died. Of germs, not gunfire. The assassin's bullet failed, but science's ignorance succeeded. 7. William McKinley ignored the X-ray. In 1901, an assassin shot McKinley at close range. Doctors refused to use new X-ray machines, fearing radiation. They couldn't locate the bullet. Days later, infection turned to gangrene. When he finally spoke his last words, they were pure peace. It is God's way. His will be done. The future could have saved him, but fear kept them in the past. 8. Warren G. Harding, death with a secret. In 1923, while traveling on a political tour, Harding suddenly collapsed in his hotel room. Doctors called it food poisoning. Rumors said his wife had discovered his secret affairs and poisoned him herself. The truth? Still unknown. His wife refused an autopsy. He was buried within days, and the whispers never stopped. When truth is buried with the body, mystery becomes history. 9. Franklin D. Roosevelt died during a portrait, April 1945. The president who guided America through depression and war sat for a painting in Georgia. Smiling, he said, "I have a terrific headache." Seconds later, silence. The artist froze as Roosevelt collapsed. The painting remains unfinished to this day. The man who painted hope left his own portrait incomplete. 10. Abraham Lincoln dreamed his own death. 1 week before he was shot, Lincoln told his wife about a dream. In it, he saw soldiers guarding a coffin in the White House. "Who is dead?" he asked in the dream. "The president," a soldier replied. A week later, the same scene became real. His dream had warned him. 11. James Madison, death delayed by breakfast. The father of the Constitution refused food and medicine, knowing his time had come. His family asked him to hold on until July 4th. He smiled and said, "No, I prefer to go now." Moments later, he closed his eyes peacefully. Even in death, he chose his own timing. 12. James Monroe, the July 4th curse continues. 3 presidents, Adams, Jefferson, Monroe, all died on July 4th. The odds, 1 in millions. Monroe's passing sealed the strange pattern forever. Some saw divine symbolism. 3 founders called home on America's birthday. When coincidence repeats, it stops being coincidence. 13. Ulysses S. Grant, death by cigars. He survived battles, bullets, and betrayal, but not tobacco. Grant smoked up to 20 cigars a day. Throat cancer consumed him slowly. Yet, in his final weeks, he wrote his memoirs to secure his family's future. The moment he finished the last page, he passed away. He fought wars for others, and one final war for his family. 14. Millard Fillmore, the polite goodbye. At dinner, he tasted soup, smiled, and said, "The nourishment is palatable." Those were his last words. Moments later, he collapsed. A gentle end for a quiet man. Some exits make no noise at all. 15. Andrew Jackson lived with bullets. Inside a survivor of countless duels, Jackson carried 2 bullets in his body for decades. They tore at him daily, but he refused surgery. He died peacefully in his home, still carrying the proof of every battle he fought. Some men never let go of their wars, even after peace. 16. Chester A. Arthur, the hidden illness. Arthur secretly battled kidney disease while still in office. He told no one, worked through pain, smiled in public, and died quietly at home. The country barely knew he was sick. Not every leader dies with noise, some fade with dignity. 17. Calvin Coolidge, the silent end. Known as Silent Cal, he lived and died in silence. One morning he shaved, read the newspaper, lay down on his bed, and never woke up. Doctors called it heart failure. His passing was as quiet as his personality. The man who spoke little. Let his silence have the last word. 18. Herbert Hoover. Outlived them all. He witnessed 2 world wars, the Great Depression, and outlived every president before him. At 90, he died peacefully in New York, ironically in the same suite where another president had died years earlier. The man once blamed for America's hardest days, left quietly after outliving them all. 19. John F. Kennedy, the Lincoln Parallels, shot in a car beside his wife on a Friday. A century earlier, Lincoln was shot in a theater beside his wife, also on a Friday. Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy. Kennedy's secretary, named Lincoln. The similarities are eerie, endless, and real. History doesn't repeat itself. It rhymes. 20. Lyndon B. Johnson, The Final Call. Alone at his Texas ranch, Johnson felt pain in his chest. He grabbed the phone to call his guards. "Help!" he gasped. Those were his last words. When help arrived, he was already gone. Power couldn't save him. Time simply ran out. From cherries and milk to bullets and prophecy, these men ruled nations but couldn't escape fate. Their endings remind us, no matter how high you rise, death finds its own strange door. Which one shocked you the most? Tell me below. And remember, the weirdest stories are the ones that are true. If you love stories that sound too strange to be true, hit subscribe because the next one might just blow your mind. They changed history, but fate changed them. Subscribe now, because the next story proves truth is always stranger than fiction. Subscribe now, because the weirdest stories are just getting started.